Have you ever wondered why some people seem to get rich while others, no matter how hard they work, just seem to struggle? Well, today we're digging into one of the books that completely changed the conversation on personal finance, Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad. The whole book really comes down to this massive conflict in how we're taught to think about money, a conflict Kiyosaki saw up close his entire childhood. So check this out. Growing up, he had two major father figures. From one, he heard the classic phrase, "The love of money is the root of all evil." But from the other, he heard the total opposite. "The lack of money is the root of all evil." Now, hearing those two completely contradictory ideas as a kid, you can imagine it sent him on a journey to figure out what was really true about building wealth. So where did these clashing viewpoints come from? Well, just like the title says, they came from the two most important men in his young life, his rich dad and his poor dad. And this is where it gets really fascinating. His poor dad, that was his actual father, was this brilliant, super educated guy with a PhD, a stable government job, the whole 9 yards, but he struggled with money his entire life. Then there was his rich dad, his best friend's father, who dropped out of school in the 8th grade. He became an entrepreneur and eventually one of the richest men in Hawaii. How does that even happen, right? Well, it all boiled down to the advice they gave him. His poor dad preached the path most of us are told to follow. Go to school, get good grades, and land a safe, secure job with a good pension. But Rich Dad's advice? It was from another planet. He said, don't work for money, you need to learn how to make money work for you. So, what's the end result of following that conventional advice? Kiyosaki argues that for most people, it leads you straight into a financial trap he famously named the rat race. You know the feeling of the rat race. It's like being stuck on a hamster wheel. You get up, you go to work, you earn a paycheck, but then that money is immediately gone. It goes to taxes, the mortgage, the car payment, all the bills. You're running as fast as you possibly can, but you're not actually getting anywhere. And the cycle just feeds itself. It starts when you get a job. Then maybe you get a promotion or a raise. More money. Awesome, right? But what do most of us do? We upgrade our lifestyle. We buy a bigger house, a nicer car, which just means taking on more debt. Suddenly, your expenses are higher than they were before, which forces you to work even harder just to stay afloat. It's a loop that's incredibly hard to break. So how in the world do you escape? Well, Rich Dad's biggest lesson was a simple but absolutely game-changing new way to look at two very important words: assets and liabilities. Okay, forget whatever complicated definitions you might have learned in an accounting class. For Rich Dad, the definition of an asset couldn't be simpler. An asset is anything that puts money in your pocket. Period. End of story. It all comes down to cash flow. An asset is like a little money machine that you own. It generates income, and that money flows from the asset right into your pocket. And you guessed it, the definition of a liability is just as straightforward. It's anything that takes money out of your pocket. It's a financial drain. It costs you money. Again, it's just about the direction the cash is flowing. A liability creates expenses, so money flows out of your pocket to pay for it. Now, this seems almost too simple, right? But this is the exact spot where Kiyosaki throws a wrench into one of our most deeply held beliefs about money. He asks this really provocative question: is your primary home, the one you live in, an asset? Now, I bet 99% of people would immediately say, of course it is. But if we're using Rich Dad's definitions, the answer is a big fat no. Think about it. Does your house put money in your pocket every month? No way. It does the exact opposite. Every single month, money flows out of your pocket for the mortgage, property taxes, insurance, repairs, you name it. On top of that, all the money you have locked up in your house is capital that you could be using to buy actual income-producing assets instead. Okay, so if the goal is to load up on assets and ditch the liabilities, how do you actually go about doing that? That brings us to Rich Dad's next piece of wisdom: mind your own business. And this is a huge distinction. Most of us get our profession confused with our business. Your profession is your job. It's what you do from 9 to 5 to get a paycheck so you can pay your bills. But your business is your asset column. That is the thing that actually builds your wealth. So what does this business look like in the real world? It's a portfolio of things that make you money. We're talking about rental properties that bring in cash every month, a portfolio of stocks and bonds, businesses that you own but don't have to physically run yourself, or even royalties from things like a book or a patent. Basically, it's anything that puts money in your pocket, whether you get out of bed in the morning or not. This quote from the book just nails the entire mindset shift. most people are focused on their paycheck, their income statement. They're always thinking, how can I get a raise? But the rich, they focus on their asset column. They use the income from their job to buy more assets, which then generate more income, creating this amazing wealth-building snowball effect. But before you can build that asset column, you have to invest in the single most powerful asset you will ever own, your mind. Look, they don't teach this stuff in school. Financial literacy is something you have to go out and learn for yourself. Understanding the language of money, of investing, Kiyosaki says that is the real foundation for all wealth. And that brings everything to this one final really powerful idea. Every single dollar that comes into your life gives you a choice. It's a vote. You can use it to buy liabilities that make you poor, or you can use it to buy assets that build your freedom. So the question isn't what Robert Kiyosaki would do. The question is, what choice would you make?